Hey y'all, welcome to At the Table podcast, a virtual table where we discuss all things young adulting. My name is Fikayo, and thank you so much for having me in your ears. Okay, so I guess when I was thinking back and I was thinking about, okay, like what am I going to post for this week's episode? I wanted to post something that I have recently been learning. And I think lately, with everything going on, I have been looking for extracurricular activities or things to do. And then I realized that I think it's really hard, and people don't talk about the importance of having a passion. When we were younger, I know my parents had us doing sports, and we were like in Girl Scouts and all of these extracurricular things that kind of fed an inherent passion. But now I feel like it almost feels like everything that you do has to have a plan or a purpose or a paycheck to it. And I'm not sure it's supposed to be like that. I get it, of course, life gets busy, responsibilities stack up, but I think I'm realizing that somewhere along the way, you have to be able to be intentional about putting things in your life that actually give you joy. And lately, I've realized that the things that light us up are things like hobbies and curiosities and feeding those curiosities, and also channeling or like just feeding small creative outlets that we have, and that these things are not just extra but they are essential. So today I want to talk about what happens when you forget to find a passion and why you cannot afford to as a young adult. Okay, so I think that adulthood has a way of kind of sneaking up on you, and you kind of go from what do I love to what is due, right? And everything becomes about being efficient and productive and on time. And of course, those are all good things, but if you are not careful, life can turn into a long checklist of things that you have to do, not things that you actually want to do. And maybe, I mean, it feels like that for me. Maybe it feels like that for you sometimes. And I just remember there was a point not long ago where I felt like everything I did had to have a purpose. Every book I read had to be for self improvement. Every activity had to have a goal. Everything I did just had to have this bigger meaning. And I think as I'm getting older, and I'm also just, developing and becoming, I guess, I just don't want to do just anything anymore. I want to implement things that I actually enjoy. And I know that it sounds really small, but this realization kind of stopped me because the things that can make you feel alive are often the first things to go when you start growing up. And I don't know if it's like that for you, but it's like that for me. I think a few months ago, I picked up running. Not just, to run, but it felt so good. What else have I been feeding lately? I have been pouring into my church more. And I mean, if you know me and you've kind of heard the way I think and the way that I process things, things always have a bit of a deeper meaning for me. And I don't know, I don't just subscribe to the idea and the thought that like how is this going to come out? Like the only reason why you're serving God is to get to heaven. I feel like there should be more depth in those types of understandings. And I was recently talking to a woman from church, and she's highly, highly involved with the teenagers. And I stopped and I asked her, why do you do this? And she told me, Fikayo, I'm passionate about this. And I was like, that is such a beautiful answer. Um, she is teaching in the children's church or in the teens church because she loves this work. And obviously, through that, God is going to reward her. And God bless her, like her efforts, right? But I loved that there was a deeper understanding of, babe, this is what I really want to do. Like, I genuinely enjoy this work. And I loved that. And I think I want to be more intentional about making sure that I am pouring myself into things that will yield, but also I'm cultivating things in my life that I just genuinely enjoy. So everything doesn't feel just like something to get done or an obligation, but it's something that I'm giving to, but it's also giving back to me in a place of fulfillment. there's this quote by Howard Thurman. I read it the other day, and it says, "Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive. Do that, because that's what the world needs. People who have things that make them come alive." And I love that because I think sometimes we get so focused on being useful that we forget how to be alive. And as I'm stewarding my life and I'm starting to create, I'm starting to create my life and what I want it to look like long term. I want to be intentional about making sure that I'm enjoying the process. The world does not need more burnt out or overextended people. It needs people who are in touch with what moves them, even in small ways, and we have to be intentional about cultivating that. Your passion does not have to be your career. I am not one of those people who thinks that personally. I'm sorry, we live in a bit of a very capitalist world um, that is highly dependent on making sure that you're bringing in a good amount of stream of income to be able to, you know, sustain your life. So I don't necessarily default into your passion should be your career, but I think you should enjoy it. But I think that there's something to be said about finding a passion outside of your career and feeding that as well. Ultimately, I think that it should just remind you that you are still here, you are capable of joy, you are capable of curiosity and feeling something deeply. I really just think it's beautiful, genuinely. And I think that there's something to be said about understanding and being able to perceive your own natural curiosities and also being able to go and sort them out or being able to go and like fetch them out, right? And being able to dive into those curiosities and get lost into it. I remember a couple years ago, I got really, really curious in plants. And I think for about 6 months, I was super hyper focused on plants. And I learned everything there is to know about plants. I watched YouTube videos, I watched TikToks. Oh my goodness, I was in. And it's nice. Like, it was nice. And now I have this very, very extreme understanding of plants specifically. And I can absolutely nerd out on plants and propagation and monsteras. And I can point out plants now. And these passions, these hobbies that I've cultivated, they've stayed with me. So when I go out and I tell a friend, oh yeah, that's a snake plant. But then the snake plant is also called a mother's tongue because, like, you see how sharp it is. And then also, if your plant isn't going well, then you should probably do this and this. And this is the most effective way to be able to water a plant. But it is, I just think it's so cute. And have you ever met someone that, like, I don't know, that you've watched nerd out? Like, it is just, it's so beautiful to watch what other people are passionate about and then the niche things other people decide to do with their free will. But point being, I think that in our 20s, it is so easy just to get tunnel vision. I guess we are building, we are hustling, we are trying to make something for ourselves. But a passion is not a distraction from that. I think it's what keeps you grounded in that. It's what keeps you human. Because every day you spend just surviving, you start to lose touch with who you are underneath all of those responsibilities. And I believe that finding a passion, whether it's books, whether it's plants, whether it's fitness, whether it's fashion, whether it's YouTube, whether it's art, whether it's nature, whatever it is, I think that it reconnects you to the version of yourself that existed before life got so serious. Dare I even say it's a form of worship to God, but ooh, that's another conversation for another day. So here's something that I know that I have been trying to be able to keep my passions alive. So once a week, I try to do something that does not have a purpose. No productivity, no self-improvement, just presence. Something that I want to do. I was in a restaurant the other day and I saw that they had coloring books for kids, and I knew that I had markers at home. So I got a couple of those coloring pages and I took them home with me. And this afternoon, I intend to color. Yes, a 25-year-old will sit down. I have homework to do, I have work notes to go over, but I will sit down and I will color. And maybe for you, it is painting. Maybe it's for you, it's learning something new. Maybe it's walking without your phone. Maybe it's learning how to cook. It doesn't have to be deep. It doesn't have to be super like productive. I just want it to make you feel alive again. And even if you find that one thing that you very specifically like, I want you to hold on to it. I want you to protect it because those little sparks of passion are what remind you that your life is still yours and that your life is also to be enjoyed, not just managed. So if you are feeling a little stuck or like your days are starting to blend together, this might be a reminder to you to make sure that you find something that lights you up again, something that just belongs to you. I want you to know that you are allowed to enjoy your life, not just work on it. We only have this one. You might as well enjoy it. So please, I'm begging you, don't forget to find a passion. Because when you stop feeding what makes you come alive, the rest of your life starts to lose color as well. I am your host, Fikayo. Thank you so much for having me in your ears. Please, if you enjoyed this, just leave a comment and follow the podcast wherever you're listening to me from, whether that be YouTube, whether it be Spotify, I have no idea, Apple Podcast. Just make sure that you keep in touch, okay? And again, you can always follow me at Fikayo, Fikayo. And you can follow the podcast's Instagram as well. Okay, maybe you shouldn't do that. Not now because I'm not really like on Instagram. But however, if you follow Fikayo, right, and you tell me, hey babe, I've been listening to your podcast and I enjoy it, I will follow you back because right now my podcast is on private. So just let me know, okay? But again, I love you so much. I am rooting for you. I am on your side. And if you need anything, let me know. All right. See you later. Bye-bye.